The greatest wall we ever have to climb is the one we build in our own minds. For the longest time, my wall felt impossibly high. My name is Leo, and not long ago, I was a student adrift in a sea of textbooks and self-doubt. Every page I tried to read felt like a wave pulling me under. My grades were slipping, and with them, my confidence, which had shrunk to a tiny flickering ember. I saw learning not as an adventure, but as a punishment. It was in this state of quiet desperation that I found myself knocking on the office door of Mr. Allister, my philosophy teacher, a man who seemed to possess a stillness that I desperately craved. He invited me in with a warm smile, his office a sanctuary of old books and quiet thought. I poured out my frustrations, explaining how my mind felt like a chaotic storm, how I couldn't focus, and how every fact I tried to memorize would simply vanish. He listened patiently, his gaze never wavering. When I finished, he didn't offer complex solutions or empty reassurances. Instead, he shared 5 simple truths that would not only change my grades, but change my entire relationship with learning. First, he said, "You must learn to quiet the storm. Imagine your mind as a glass of muddy water, Leo. If you keep shaking it with worry and distraction, you'll never see clearly. But if you let it sit, the mud will settle, and the water will become clear." He told me to begin every study session by simply sitting still for 5 minutes, focusing only on the gentle rhythm of my breath. This, he explained, was the act of letting the mud settle. It wasn't about emptying my mind, but about allowing it to become calm. Second, he spoke of the present moment. Your focus is like the flame of a candle. If you allow the winds of past regrets or future anxieties to blow through the room, the flame will flicker and die. You must protect it. He taught me that when I was studying, my entire world had to be that single paragraph, that one equation. If my mind wandered to a test next week, or a mistake I made yesterday, I was too gently guided back to the candle flame to task right in front of me. Third, he challenged my entire approach to knowledge. Are you a hard rock, or are you a sponge? He asked. A rock can be splashed with water, but the water just runs off. A sponge, however, absorbs the water and makes it a part of itself. He urged me to stop trying to just memorize facts. Instead, I should strive to understand them, to ask why, to connect new ideas to what I already knew. True learning, he said, wasn't about coating your mind with information, but about letting it soak in. Fourth, he addressed the overwhelming feeling of it all. You would never try to eat an entire banquet in one bite, he smiled. So why try to learn a whole subject in one night? He showed me how to break down my learning into small, manageable pieces. Study for 25 minutes, then take a 5-minute break to walk around or stretch. This approach, he promised, would make learning feel less like a monumental chore and more like a series of small, achievable victories. Finally, he gave me the most important key: consistency. A seed doesn't become a great tree overnight, Leo. It needs a little water every single day. He stressed that practicing for just 20 minutes every day was far more powerful than a frantic 4-hour session once a week. This daily watering, no matter how small, is what allows roots of knowledge to grow deep and strong. I left his office that day with more than just advice. I left with a map. I started with the 5 minutes of breathing. It felt strange at first, but slowly, the storm in my mind began to calm. I focused on the candle flame of the present. I started asking questions, becoming a sponge instead of a rock. I broke down my chapters into small pieces and watered my new knowledge daily. The change wasn't instant, but it was profound. My grades began to climb, but more importantly, the dread I felt towards my books was replaced by a spark of curiosity. The wall in my mind didn't vanish, but I had learned how to build a staircase, one simple step at a time. I realized that the goal was never just to get good grades, but to rediscover the joy of learning itself. A gift that has guided me to success ever since.